Alright, let's get into it. You've seen it on your Instagram feed. Your cousin, let's call him Rohan, suddenly has a new profile picture. He's wearing a massive parka standing in front of Niagara Falls. And his caption is something like, embracing the chill, eh? Meanwhile, you're stuck in traffic in Mumbai, sweating through your shirt. It feels like everyone is leaving India. Young people are packing their bags for universities in the United States, United Kingdom, or Australia. Professionals are taking jobs in tech hubs from Silicon Valley to Singapore. It's a massive movement of people, a modern-day exodus of talent and ambition. And for a long time, the story was simple. It was called the brain drain. India's best and brightest were leaving, and that was a bad thing. But now people are calling it brain circulation. The idea is that these folks go abroad, make money, learn new things, and then send some of that back home. Remittances are a huge part of India's economy. But here's the twist, the part nobody wants to talk about at the family dinner. Most of these people, the Rohans of the world, they're not planning on coming back. Not for good anyway, especially not for retirement. This raises a huge question. If India is the world's fastest growing major economy, a global powerhouse in the making, why are so many of its citizens voting with their feet? Why are they choosing to build their lives, raise their families, and grow old somewhere else? It's not just about getting a fancy foreign degree or a high-paying job. The story is deeper, more complicated, and it touches on everything from the air you breathe to the money you hope to have when you're 65. It's a story about hopes, dreams, and the hard realities of daily life. So, we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at the real reasons people pack up and leave, and the even more surprising reasons they stay away. We'll explore the push factors, the things in India that make you want to book a one-way ticket, and the pull factors, the shiny promises of life overseas. We'll look at education, jobs, healthcare, and what it really costs to retire. This isn't just about statistics. It's about the choices millions of Indians are making right now, and what those choices mean for the future of the country they're leaving behind. Let's start with the first big step, getting an education. In India, getting into a good college is like the Hunger Games. You have millions of students fighting for a tiny number of seats in top institutions like the IITs and IIMs. The competition is insane. Kids start preparing in middle school, sacrificing their social lives for coaching classes that promise to crack the code of hyper-competitive entrance exams. It's a pressure cooker environment that burns out even the brightest students before they've even finished their first semester of college. This system creates a brutal pyramid where only a handful make it to the top. But what about everyone else? India has thousands of colleges, and enrollment has shot up. But here's the problem. Quantity does not equal quality. Many of these institutions, especially private ones, are just not that good. Think outdated labs, overcrowded classrooms, and a severe shortage of qualified professors. India spends only about 1.2% of its GDP on higher education, which is way below the global average. Globally, India's top university, the Indian Institute of Science, barely cracks the top 350. So for ambitious students, the choice becomes clear. Stay and fight for a spot in an underfunded system, or look abroad. Then comes the big shocker after graduation, the job market. You've got the degree, but do you have the skills? A recent report found that only about 55% of Indian graduates are actually considered employable. Employers say graduates lack critical thinking, problem solving, and communication skills. The curriculum is often theoretical, disconnected from what the modern workplace actually needs. This creates a massive employability gap. You have a generation of young people armed with degrees, but unprepared for the jobs of the future, leading to high unemployment rates among the educated youth. It's a frustrating end to a very long and stressful journey. This is where foreign universities come in. They offer a different promise. Their programs are often more practical, skill-focused, and aligned with industry demands. They offer research opportunities, access to cutting-edge technology, and a learning environment that encourages questioning and creativity, not just memorization. For an Indian student who has spent years in a rigid, exam-focused system, this is a breath of fresh air. They aren't just leaving for a better degree, they are leaving for a better way of learning, one that prepares them for a global career, not just another exam. So you've survived the education system, you've got your degree, now it's time to get a job. Welcome to the next level of the game, and it's just as tough. India's job market is a paradox. On one hand, you hear about a massive talent gap. Companies, especially in the tech sector, are desperate for people with skills in artificial intelligence, data science, and cybersecurity. They can't find enough qualified candidates to fill these roles. India actually ranks lower than average in the ease of finding skilled employees. This sounds like great news for job seekers, right? Hold on. The problem is, the workforce isn't always trained for these new-age jobs. There's a huge need for upskilling. An estimated 63% of Indian workers will need retraining by 2030, but a huge chunk of them may never get it. So you have this strange situation. Companies are hunting for talent, while millions of graduates are hunting for jobs. On top of that, wage growth in India is slower than the global average. You might land a job, but the salary might not live up to the hype, especially when you factor in the high cost of living in big cities. Now let's talk about the work culture. Life in corporate India, especially in major hubs like Bengaluru, Mumbai or Gurgaon, can be a grind. We're talking long hours, high pressure, and intense competition for every promotion. The work-life balance that people talk about in wellness blogs, it often feels like a myth. For many top graduates, especially from places like the IITs, the choice becomes simple. Why stay and burn out for a lower salary when you can get a better offer, a clearer career path, and a healthier work environment abroad? About a third of top-tier graduates end up emigrating for exactly these reasons. This is where the pull of overseas job markets becomes irresistible. Countries like the United States, Canada, and Australia don't just offer higher salaries. They offer a different professional culture. There's often a greater emphasis on work-life balance, employee well-being, and structured career progression. Plus, many countries offer post-study work visas, giving international students a direct pathway to a career after they graduate. It's a powerful incentive. You're not just getting a job, you're buying into a lifestyle that promises more money, less stress, and better long-term prospects. So why is the grass always greener on the other side? Well, sometimes it actually is. The appeal of living abroad goes way beyond a better degree or a fatter paycheck. For many Indians, it's about a chance to experience a whole new world. It's about cultural exposure, interacting with people from dozens of different countries, trying new foods and broadening your mindset. Living in a multicultural city like London or Toronto can be a life-changing experience, especially for someone who has grown up in a more homogeneous environment. It's an education in itself. One of the biggest pull factors is the perceived quality of life. This is a big, vague term, so let's break it down. It means things like cleaner air, safer streets, and reliable public services. It means living in a city where the traffic flows smoothly, public parks are clean and accessible, and you feel a sense of order and predictability in your daily life. These might seem like small things, but they add up. When you're not constantly battling pollution, noise, and chaos, your overall well-being improves dramatically. This is a powerful draw for people who are tired of the daily struggles of urban India. Then there's the financial infrastructure. Countries like the United States and Canada have well-established systems that make life easier. Think about getting a loan, buying a car, or accessing scholarships. These processes are often more transparent and accessible than in India. For students, the availability of scholarships, grants, and part-time work opportunities can make a foreign education financially viable. Plus, the fact that English is the primary language in many of these popular destinations removes a major barrier, making it easier for Indians to adapt and thrive. Finally, there's the network effect. Decades of Indian migration have created strong, supportive communities abroad. When a new student or professional lands in a foreign country, they are often welcomed by a network of people who can help them find housing, navigate the local culture, and feel at home. This established Indian diaspora acts like a safety net, making the daunting prospect of moving to a new country far less intimidating. It's not just about moving to a foreign land, it's about joining a community that's already there, waiting to help you succeed. Alright, fast forward a few decades. Rohan, our cousin in Canada, has had a successful career. He's raised his kids, paid off his mortgage, and is now thinking about retirement. The logical next step, according to every Bollywood movie ever made, is to pack up and return to the motherland. He should be dreaming of sipping chai on a veranda in Pune. But here's the thing. A recent survey showed that 71% of diaspora Indians have no plans to return to India for retirement. They prefer to stay right where they are. This is the great retirement paradox. The number one reason is money, cold, hard cash. To retire comfortably in India and maintain a lifestyle similar to what they had abroad, NRIs need a massive retirement fund. Financial planners estimate you'd need a corpus of around 6 to 8 crore rupees or even more. That's a huge amount of money. Why so much? Because the salary you can command in India, even with foreign experience, is often much lower than what you earned abroad. This is called the salary disconnect. Relying on continued income from foreign investments after moving back can also be risky and complicated. Then there are the unexpected costs. Moving back to India isn't as simple as just booking a flight. You might need temporary housing while you look for a permanent place. You'll have to buy a car, furniture and appliances all over again. And what about health? Your new Indian health insurance policy might not cover pre-existing conditions right away, leaving you vulnerable to huge medical bills if something goes wrong. These unforeseen expenses can quickly eat into your retirement savings, creating a lot of financial stress right when you're supposed to be relaxing. So, while the emotional pull of coming home is strong, the financial reality is a powerful deterrent. NRIs have spent their entire working lives building a certain standard of living. They've gotten used to a certain level of financial security and predictability. The thought of giving that up for a future filled with financial uncertainty is terrifying. For many, it's simply not a risk they are willing to take. The dream of a peaceful retirement in India clashes with the practical need for a secure and stable financial future. And more often than not, practicality wins. Let's talk about the daily grind. When you're thinking about where to spend your golden years, you think about your environment. What will your day-to-day life look like? For many NRIs who have lived in developed countries for decades, the thought of returning to an Indian city is a major concern. India's cities are growing at an explosive rate. They are projected to double in population by the year 2050, but the infrastructure is struggling to keep up. This strain leads to a cascade of problems that affect your quality of life every single day. First, let's talk about something you can't escape: the air. India has a massive air pollution problem. Of the world's 100 most polluted cities, a staggering 74 are in India. Breathing the air in cities like Delhi is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a public health crisis, contributing to millions of premature deaths each year. For a retiree concerned about their health, the prospect of living in an environment with toxic air is a non-starter. They've gotten used to clean air, and they don't want to give it up. Then there's the issue of basic civic amenities, things like waste management and water supply. While most urban waste in India is collected, very little of it is actually processed. Most of it ends up in giant, overflowing landfills on the outskirts of cities. Water scarcity is another looming crisis. A major report warned that 40% of India's population might not have access to clean drinking water by 2030. These are fundamental issues. When you have to worry about whether the water from your tap is safe or where your garbage is going, it adds a layer of stress to your life. Finally, there's the chaos of urban transport and a lack of what some call civic sense. Despite new metro lines, getting around in an Indian city is often a nightmare of traffic jams, noise, and pollution. There's a perception among some NRIs that there's a lack of public cleanliness and discipline compared to the countries they've lived in. Indian cities consistently rank low on global quality of living indices. When you combine all these factors, the pollution, the strained resources, the daily chaos, the picture becomes clear. The comfortable, predictable, and clean environment of their adopted country often seems far more appealing for retirement. When you're young, healthcare is something you don't think about much. But as you get older, it becomes one of the most important factors in your life. This is a huge piece of the puzzle for why NRIs hesitate to retire in India. India's healthcare system is a tale of two worlds. On one hand, you have the public system, which is largely free but often underfunded, understaffed, and overcrowded, especially in rural areas. The quality can be a real lottery. On the other hand, you have the private sector, which offers world-class high-quality care, but it comes at a very high price. This creates a scary situation called catastrophic health expenditure. That's a fancy term for when a medical emergency wipes out a family's entire life savings. In India, a shocking 55% of all health spending is paid directly out of pocket by patients. Health insurance is not as widespread or comprehensive as it is in many other countries. So even if you have a decent retirement fund, a single major illness or surgery could decimate it. This financial risk is a massive deterrent for retirees who need predictable and affordable access to healthcare. Now compare this to the systems in countries like the US, UK, Canada, or Australia. While none of them are perfect, they generally offer universal or comprehensive health insurance systems. In countries with universal healthcare, citizens are covered for most medical expenses, providing a powerful sense of security. You know that if you get sick, you won't go bankrupt. This peace of mind is invaluable, especially in retirement. The thought of trading this security for India's fragmented and costly system is a major gamble. So, for an NRI weighing their options, the choice is stark. Do they stay in a country where their health is protected by a robust, predictable system? Or do they move to India, where they might get excellent private care but risk financial ruin every time they visit a doctor? For most, the answer is obvious. The healthcare safety net they have abroad is simply too valuable to give up. The fear of a medical emergency turning into a financial catastrophe is a powerful reason to stay put. Let's talk about the final piece of the financial puzzle: pensions and social security. When you work for decades in a country, you pay into its system. You contribute to social security or a national pension plan. Over time, this builds up into a guaranteed income stream for your retirement. This is the ultimate safety net. It's the promise that even if your personal savings run low, the government will provide a basic income to help you live with dignity. This system is a cornerstone of retirement planning in most developed countries. Let's look at some examples. In the UK, if you've worked for a certain number of years, you get a state pension. In Canada, you get the Canada Pension Plan. In Australia, there's the age pension. In the US, there's Social Security. These systems provide a predictable, regular payment every month. It might not be a huge amount, but it's reliable. For a retiree, that predictability is everything. It allows them to budget, plan, and live without the constant fear of running out of money. It's a foundation of financial stability. Now let's look at India. India does have pension schemes like the Employee Provident Fund and the National Pension System, which is open to NRIs. These are good savings vehicles, but they are largely contribution-based. The amount you get out depends on how much you put in. They don't offer the same kind of broad, state-guaranteed safety net that you find in many Western countries. The social security infrastructure is just not as comprehensive or as generous. This creates a major dilemma for an NRI. They might have a pension building up in their adopted country. To access it fully, they often need to continue living there. Moving back to India could mean losing access to these benefits or dealing with complex international tax laws and agreements. The comprehensive and predictable nature of foreign pension systems often outweighs the appeal of returning home. It's a simple calculation. Why give up a guaranteed monthly income for a future that is less certain? The financial peace of mind offered by these foreign systems is a powerful anchor holding them abroad. So, we've covered money, jobs, and health. But what about the heart? What about family, culture, and the emotional pull of home? For decades, these were the things that ultimately brought people back to India. The desire to be close to aging parents, to celebrate festivals with relatives, and to have their children grow up surrounded by Indian culture was a powerful force. But today, even these emotional ties are becoming more complex and in some cases, weaker. Think about it from the perspective of an NRI who has lived abroad for 20 or 30 years. Their life is there. Their friends are there. Their children have grown up there, and they feel more Canadian or American than Indian. Moving back to India would be a massive cultural adjustment, not just for them, but for their entire family. They might worry about their children fitting into the Indian education system or social environment. The comfort and familiarity of their established life abroad often become more powerful than the pull of their cultural roots. Of course, the Indian government sees this trend and is trying to do something about it. They've launched initiatives like the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas to celebrate the diaspora and programs to attract talent back. The Overseas Citizenship of India card makes it easier for people of Indian origin to live and work in India. But these efforts are often described as piecemeal. They don't address the fundamental systemic issues, the problems with infrastructure, pollution, healthcare, and job quality that push people away in the first place. In the end, the decision to leave India and the decision not to return are driven by a rational calculation of what's best for oneself and one's family. It's a search for a better quality of life, greater financial security, and more opportunities. While the emotional connection to India will always remain, a growing number of Indians are choosing a future built on the stability and predictability offered by other nations. This brain circulation is shaping India's future, creating a global Indian identity, but it also leaves a big question mark over who will stay to build the India of tomorrow.